Hi everyone, welcome back to KAM'S Arcade. I have the lights on tonight because I wanted to do a quick walkthrough of my racing rig and talk about some of the changes I've made to it. So here it is, it's a Next Level Racing GT track. I've added a platform on the back so I could use it for fighting games that I enjoy playing when I'm not racing. When I am racing, I'm using a Fanatic wheelbase, shifter, V3 pedals. It's all being run on the Xbox Series X there in the corner on the right side, and a 43-inch display. So that's the rig. And one thing that I've been wanting to do was upgrade my seat. And that's exactly what I have here. This is a GT Omega Racing RS9 seat mounted on the GT track, as you can see there. Pretty comfy. I just got it, so I haven't put a whole lot of time on it, but I wanted to talk to you about why I made this change. So I'm going to walk you over to the GT track. This is the seat that it came with, and as you can see here, pretty nice looking seat, very aggressive, very sporty. When you first get in the seat, because it's a bucket seat, it's like you're in the seat, which is a really cool feeling. But one thing I noticed after racing for any period of time, maybe more than 30 minutes, this bucket seat, when I'm sitting in it, the sides of my back would be resting on these bolsters here. And also the sides of my legs would rest on these bolsters as well. And they kind of dug into me a bit, causing some back pain after a while. And I found like I just needed a little bit more space, a little bit wider, and it would be comfortable for me. But I needed to make a change because it was really preventing me from spending time in the rig and enjoying it. So what I ended up doing, I went to this company, same company as before, GT Omega, and before I put on that RS9 that I have on there now, I had this on there. This is the XLRS. This is their largest seat that they have. They have 3 seats. They have an RS6, which looks very similar to this design, and because of that, I felt like, well, maybe that's not going to really give me the extra size that I needed. And so I opted for their largest seat, the XL. And it is a big seat. I'm going to back up. You can kind of see how they look proportionate to each other. It's bigger just about in every dimension. It's taller, it's wider. It's got a lot more padding. It's definitely a big boy seat. I'm 5'8", about 170 pounds. And when I sit in this seat, in this area here along my back, I don't make any contact with the bolsters. I do find though that my head was resting in this area here because the seat's so tall versus up in here on the headrest. So found that kind of interesting. You'll notice though that the seat itself is not as aggressive or sporty as the GT track, which is kind of what I was going for. Those bolsters were really killing me, so I wanted something that didn't dig into me like that. And this seat definitely accomplished that. Although I felt like maybe it was a little too big for me. I guess if you're a bit taller than I am, you probably will appreciate this. And if you're wider than I am, you would as well. One thing for me though, because it is such a big seat for me, I felt like it wasn't very sporty. It's not a bucket seat like the GT track, and while comfortable, it just didn't feel like I was in a cockpit or I was in a sports car. And so I decided to go looking for maybe another seat that was bigger than the GT track, maybe not quite as big as this one here, and maybe just a bit sportier than that. And that's where I ended up with this one, the RS9. As you can see, it's a bit smaller than the XLRS. It's a little bit more aggressive. You can see there's a more curvature to the back The bolsters kind of a little bit more pronounced along the back. The seat itself, same thing, although not nearly as aggressive as the GT Track seat. So this is a nice compromise for me. I think it's a better sized seat for my frame. A couple things that I've noticed. First, the curvature of the seat here in the shoulder is pretty pronounced, which has a tendency to push your shoulders forward and can be kind of uncomfortable. I think the way you counteract that is you recline the seat. Just like all these seats, this one reclines. So I have the seat reclined probably a little further back than I would normally have to counteract that shoulder curvature there. And one thing I don't like about it though is because it is leaning so far back, my head does not rest on the seat rest when I'm racing. And so I know that you can buy a seat cushion. I'm probably going to do that to solve that issue. But the seat itself, I like the bolsters. They don't jet out and not as aggressive as the GT Track. They're more curved, softer curve. So if your back does make contact, it's not digging into your back. And this area here is wider than the GT Track. Not quite as wide as the XL, but actually that's a good thing for me. I do want to feel the bolsters on my side just a little bit. I want to feel like it's hugging me a bit, and I want to feel like I'm in a sports car, not in an SUV. And so this compared to the XLRS gives me that feeling there. One thing, if you are a GT Track owner, I want to make you aware of the mounting holes on the GT Omega seats are different than on the GT Track. What that means is that when you go to mount it, after pulling off the original seat, the holes will not line up with the mounting bracket on the GT Track. So you're either going to have to drill a hole or figure out a different solution. I opted with a riser that's a universal riser. It comes in two parts, and so I created some spacers using washers between the two plates to give me the width that I needed to mount to the seat and then to the rig itself, and it worked out pretty well. It did end up increasing the seat height a bit, which actually so far I kind of like better. That's kind of see in relation to the pedals. I feel like maybe the GT Track seat was a little too low, maybe more accurate seating position, but I don't know. I wanted something maybe a little bit taller, so this one definitely does that. And you'll notice down at the bottom I've got a butt kicker. Got to have one of those if you're in one of these rumbles of seat as you're racing. It's a really nice immersive feeling, and combined with the surround sound system I have here, it's a very immersive experience. So that is my GT Track with the GT Omega seat. Hopefully that was helpful to you, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a note. I'd be happy to share any of my findings, and I hope that you have a safe and happy holidays.